Hey everyone, and welcome. So, you're thinking about studying in Canada? Awesome. Well, if you want to make that dream a reality, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to break down the one document that makes it all happen: the Canadian Study Permit. I mean, you've probably pictured it, right? Those amazing universities, living in a cool new city, all the incredible experiences waiting for you. That dream, well, that's where this whole incredible journey kicks off. And, to get from that dream to actually being there, it all comes down to one single super important document. This is literally the key that unlocks your entire Canadian adventure. Okay, so let's get right into it. What is a study permit? And maybe more importantly, how is it different from a visa? This is a super common point of confusion, so we're going to make it crystal clear. So, in a nutshell, the study permit is the official paper from the Canadian government that says, yep, you're allowed to be a student here. It's what gives you the legal status to actually enroll and study at a school, specifically one they call a Designated Learning Institution, or DLI for short. All right, so let's really hammer this home. Permit versus visa. What's the deal? The easiest way to think about it is like this. Your visa, or your ETA, that's just your ticket to get on the plane and land in Canada. It lets you enter the country. But the study permit, that's what lets you stay, live, and actually go to school once you're here. The permit is the main show, The visa just gets you through the door. And how long is it good for? Well, it covers you for the entire length of your program. Plus, they give you an extra 90 days at the end. And that extra time is awesome. It gives you a little breathing room to either get your things together to go home, or, and this is the exciting part, to figure out how you can stay longer. Maybe even start the next chapter of your life right there in Canada. Okay, so before you can get your hands on this permit, you've got to show that you're eligible. But hey, don't look at this like some big, scary test. It's really just a checklist to make sure you're ready for success. Basically, the immigration officers are looking at 5 key things. First, you need that acceptance letter from your school that proves you have a real reason to be there. Second, you got to show them the money, proof of funds to prove you can support yourself. Then, of course, the obvious stuff. You need to be in good health and have a clean criminal record. And this last one? It's a big one. You have to convince the officer that you plan to leave Canada when your studies are done. Remember, it's a temporary permit, so they need to know you'll respect that. And yeah, let's talk about that money part again, because honestly, this is where a lot of people get tripped up. Proving you have the financial resources, it's not just a nice to have. It's an absolute must. It shows them you can focus on your studies and not have to worry about financial issues. So, what's the magic number we're talking about here? Well, right now, you need to show that you have at least 20,635 Canadian dollars. And listen, this is super important. That amount is just for your living expenses for 1 year. It's on top of whatever you need to pay for your tuition. All right, so you've ticked all the eligibility boxes, you're ready to go. What happens next? Well, now we get into the application itself. Think of it like a simple roadmap, just a few clear steps from A to Z. The path is pretty straightforward. Step 1, you've got that acceptance letter in hand. Step 2, you gather up all your documents and fill out the application online. After you submit, you'll need to give your biometrics. That's just a fancy word for your fingerprints and a photo. And then it's the waiting game. You just have to wait for the decision. Now, you're going to need a bunch of documents, but I want you to really focus on 3 big ones: your passport, that proof of funds we talked about, and a really solid letter of explanation. Seriously, don't sleep on this letter. It's your one shot to talk directly to the immigration officer. You use it to tell them why you picked Canada, why this specific program, and why you're definitely going to head back home after you're done. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about the fun stuff. What does your life actually look like once you have that permit? Because, spoiler alert, it's not just about studying 24/7. It's also about getting some real-world experience. And this leads to probably the number one question everybody asks: can you work while you're studying? And the answer is absolutely yes. Now, what's really interesting here is how they set up the rules. When school is in session, you can work part-time, up to 20 hours a week. But during your scheduled breaks, like over the summer, you can work full-time, which is amazing, right? It's a great way to earn some money and get some work experience under your belt. So, graduation day comes. Is that the end of your Canadian journey? For so many people, it's actually just the beginning. Let's talk about what happens after you get that diploma. This is where something called the Post-Graduation Work Permit, or PGWP, comes into play. And let me tell you, this thing is a total game changer. It lets you stay and work in Canada for up to 3 years after you graduate. You can work pretty much anywhere, gaining that super valuable Canadian work experience. And that work experience, it's not just something for your resume. It is your pathway, like a direct pathway to becoming a permanent resident. The PGWP is probably the best bridge you can have to go from being a temporary student to building a long-term life in Canada. So when you really look at it, the study permit is so much more than just a piece of paper, right? It's the first step on this incredible path, a path that leads from a classroom to a career and maybe even to a whole new life in Canada. So the only question left is, are you ready to start your adventure?